All right, everyone, welcome back to the COMS 1102 podcast. Today we have an interesting lineup of featured speakers, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, good day everyone. My name is Anuradha Pasteo, and I am so glad to have the opportunity today to speak about communication and workplace conflict.
Hello again, everyone. I am Sabrina Mohammed, and today I'll be speaking about why and how conflict may occur in the workplace.
Good day, everyone. My name is Josiah Rose, and I'm glad to be here with you all today.
Hi, my name is Larissa Knight, and I am thrilled to be here.
All right, thank you all for your lovely introductions. And so today I'd just like to acknowledge our audience. We have some sixth form communication studies students. Welcome you all and thank you so much for joining us. And we also have some university students joining us today, some comms majors. We see you and we appreciate your attendance. All right. So we're going to get into it a little bit today. And Anuradha, I'd like to ask you just to explain to us a little bit more, what exactly is this communication and the workplace conflict?
Sure, Sabrina, I would be glad to. Communication occurs on any given day at any given time. It is an important aspect of everyday life, and we use it as a part of everyday life. Whether we're talking to business colleagues, whether we're talking to family, whether we're talking to friends, even as simple as sending a text message is communication. And there are many different forms of communication. Communication is known as the imparting of information by speaking, writing, and other mediums. Workplace conflict, on the other hand, can be defined as disagreements between colleagues, and it is caused by clashing personalities, opposing ideas, as well as many other factors. Some workplaces include business organizations, bookstores, clothes stores, stationery stores, stores in malls, and many others.
Thank you very much, Anuradha, for that very informative bit for today's podcast. Now, as I mentioned previously, I'll be speaking about why and how these conflicts may occur in the workplace. But it is important to understand that now more than ever, our workspaces include both online and the physical realms. Now, conflict occurrence can vary, meaning it can be interpersonal or in a group or the wider society of said workplace. Now, these conflicts happen simply because goals may be misaligned amongst peers, visions for projects may differ, and persons may see each other as threats to their progress. And I know it is very harsh. However, it is our reality today. So, to break down essentially what those things mean, is that co-workers may see each other as competition in ways that they may deem not healthy, and therefore would try to eliminate said competition or anything that they think would skew their visions. Now, I mentioned earlier that workplaces include both online and physical. Some examples of this type of conflict may occur online, such as cyberbullying and trolling. Now, in the physical realm, it is way easier to spread gossip amongst your coworkers or even to their bosses at times, essentially tainting one's character. Yes, so a real life example of this would be, now this generation is very fond of memes on the internet. And they may create a meme that may say something like, when that one coworker who does nothing is the first one to speak or has the most to say, and include something like from the very famous TikTok, bombastic side eye, really essentially giving way to the cyberbullying and trolling of throwing shade, as they like to say, right? And for the physical realm, that is, you see it very often in ads where there's a group huddled together and one person may walk back and you hear something like, she is so and so, or she doesn't do her work well, or she's very chummy with the boss or whatnot. Really, but what essentially it means is that there is some tension between at least the two parties, right? And now this topic can be expanded upon, but for today, I'd like to pass the baton on to Josiah, who will talk a bit about ways to overcome those conflicts.
Yes, and I just want to talk to you all more about my topic, which is overcoming conflict in the workplace. And in order to resolve conflict in the workplace, you must first address employee differences of opinions, objectives, or styles that work peacefully with each other. Some ways in which you could resolve conflict are by clarifying what is the source of the conflict. So you'll be able to define the cause of the conflict and both parties get to consent to what the disagreement is. So you could do this by asking questions among the co-workers, asking them questions, trying to figure out what really started the conflict in the first place. Find a safe and private place to talk so you could have honest communication regarding the issues at hand. So once you find out the environment where, outside of the office, where everybody could come and collectively talk about what the issues they have and share their viewpoints honestly, and what they agree with and what they disagree with. And you listen actively and let everyone have their say. So you let everyone have the opportunity to air out their views and perceptions regarding the issues at hand. So you give everybody the chance to air out their actual views and and get to hear their real thoughts about what issues they have, whether it be among the co-workers, whether it be with the rules in place inside the workplace. And after you finish do all of this, you could then try and come to have a common goal, like come up with a common goal where you could resolve the issue, resolve the conflict, and it wouldn't happen again in the future. And I guess once you do all of this, you would then be able to then ensure that you can manage conflict in the workplace.
All right, folks, just to keep you abreast of what's been happening, I know it's been a very, very informative session thus far, but we've had our first speaker, Anuradha, explaining what is communication and the workplace conflict, even giving some examples of the various types of workplaces that may be in occurrence currently. You've had myself speak about why and how this conflict may occur in the workplace, and we've just had Mr. Josiah Rose speaking about those ways to overcome the conflict in the workplace. So right about now, I'd like to invite Miss Larissa Knight, who will be speaking about the impact that workplace resolution will have. So as you may have noticed, folks, it is very connective. So sixth form students, I hope you're taking notes because we have some more insightful information for you, as well as a detailed conclusion, so that this podcast will be of more benefit to you and that you will remember the key points of today's discussion. So stay tuned, guys. We have good things coming your way.
Yeah, of course. Contrary to popular belief, since not many know this, but there are many ways in which someone can successfully resolve any form of conflict while in the workplace. And much like Josiah mentioned earlier, we have this variety of options at our disposal too. And in the society, more specifically Trinidadian than mainstream, we just seem to have this grudge with others if they don't do a specific thing, a specific way. And the first thing to come to mind for some reason is to start a quarrel or a fuss. And this to us is somehow seen as a form of conflict management and is taken as a valid way of resolving problems. However, this is clearly not the proper way to handle conflict, especially in a proper setting such as your place of work. We can actually benefit so much from resolving our differences on the same wavelength, even coming to the famous agree to disagree, because in all honesty, that decision can be the difference between middle ground understanding and another bacchanal just waiting to sprout up, So making your way up to having a stable work environment is dependent on how the conflict is handled, and one of the many ways is by following the stages of conflict management. So you have your stage setting, defining of conflict, the identification of goals, good choices. Once that's done, you can act on it and evaluate said choice before calling it a day. The impact that a proper problem solving pathway can make is actually very large, not to mention the various ways in which you could do so. To name a few, there's belt lining, which is trying to always be right in order to win an argument, which is not possible. If you know Trinidad, then you know that's not possible. You can't have that because your goal is not to win, it's to solve a problem, but you can't solve a problem if you're just straight off butting heads. It's not a war where you just go in with weapons swinging. And there's face detracting and enhancing. As you know, actions speak louder than words, and your face orientation can be a clear giveaway. And it's best that you help in the upbringing of others, help them maintain a positive image even after you've gotten what you wanted. And once you're able to properly retain a positive face, there will be no problem avoiding future conflicts. And argumentativeness with aggressiveness, both completely juxtaposed to each other. With aggressiveness, the goal is to attack the person's self-concept verbally, intention to cause psychological harm. However, compared to argumentativeness, you're more willing to argue for a point of view rather than the major upper hand. And this is where you can speak personally on the significant issues and is actually the preferred way of handling conflict. I could actually go on and on about this, but the bottom line is that there is impact in making more allies than enemies in the workplace. This can save you stress in the long run in terms of competitiveness from peers, envy, jealousy, and difficulty in finding people to connect with. It's difficult to backtrack once cement is set, so best to make your mark while the foundation is still in its early stages.
All right, folks, we are nearing the end of today's program, but I do want to thank our speakers, Ms. Anuradha Pasdale, Mr. Josiah Rose, Ms. Larissa Knights, and myself, Ms. Sabrina Mohammed, for our valuable contributions on the important topic of workplace conflict, explaining exactly what it is, how and why it may occur, as well as the ways to overcome it. We know now that we can identify, employ different styles of working, and really seeking clarification from the source of the conflict. And in understanding what the impact of said resolutions may have, we understand that conflict can also be a good thing for the parties involved in creating a harmonious workplace. And with that, everyone, I would like to thank you all for tuning in today for this special episode of Workplace Conflict. Thank you to our sixth form students for joining us, and as well as our university students. All right, and everyone else, we do appreciate your unwavering support, and we look forward to having you in our next episode. Thank you all once again.